Well, Growers Edge, I think, has made us more money by allowing me to survey the local bids that I'm in the area that I want to sell my grain. The local elevators and the ethanol plants know that this information is out there, so they've got to be competitive if they want to get the grain. You know, we've been able to maximize our return on our farm.
Good afternoon, welcome to GrainTV. My name is Cody. Today is Wednesday the 9th, and we had the markets mostly negative here today, down 7.5 cents on the soybean contract for November. We saw Chicago wheat here down 1 3/4, and corn hanging in there up 1/4 penny on the December contract. Some of the news that came out today, or actually this came out yesterday, but I did want to talk about it since this is the first GrainTV back from a long weekend. You'll notice 120,000 metric tons of new crop corn sold to Mexico and another 120,000 metric tons of new crop soybeans to unknown destinations. Those were both positive pieces of news there for the grains coming back from that 3-day weekend. That helped lift the grains yesterday. Today, we were just unable to really sustain that sort of rally. So a little bit disappointing. Let's take a look at the export inspections. You'll notice corn came out and was on the high side of analyst expectations. 894,000 metric tons were inspected for export, which was definitely on the high side of expectations, which range between 775,000 and 900,000 metric tons. Soybeans was a disappointment. We saw 93,000 metric tons inspected for export. That was below the range of analyst estimates, which really was between 125,000 metric tons and 275,000. So disappointing week in terms of export inspections there for soybeans, and wheat coming in a little bit on the low side of analyst expectations here with 371,000 metric tons. Let's take a look at the Planalytics Agribusiness Weather Brief. You'll notice this week's temperatures look to cool down toward the end of the week. You'll notice it will be cooler than normal, really starting Friday, going into Saturday, Sunday for the grain belt and the eastern part of the U.S. We do get a good amount of precipitation on Tuesday. That seems to move its way east, giving the majority of the grain belt some added precipitation, which is needed in some areas as we are later on in this development stage for the crop. But there is a frost threat on Thursday and Friday morning in Minnesota and Wisconsin. So those are very important to pay attention to. Right now, as of the crop progress report, Minnesota is only 5% mature. Wisconsin is only 5% mature as well. So we're going to want to be paying close attention to the weather here tomorrow morning and on Friday morning to see if any sort of significant hard freeze is relevant to price movement. And we'll have to see exactly what sort of temperatures we're talking about tomorrow morning. Crop conditions came out, and you'll notice that corn doing 96%, corn denting 76% compared to 75%. Good to excellent conditions stayed unchanged at 68%, basically in line with analyst expectations. When you look at soybeans, you'll see that we stayed in line, in line with last week. We were unchanged on the good to excellent ratings. That was above analyst expectations. Analysts were expecting to see a slight decline in those good to excellent ratings. We didn't get that. We saw 63% good to excellent rating there for soybeans. Right now, 96% of the crop is setting pods. 18% is dropping leaves compared to 16% on the 4-year average. So soybean crop continues to move along at a very average pace here. We'll have to see whether or not we get any sort of decrease in conditions, but based on what I'm seeing here in the weather this week, it looks as though it should be relatively favorable, at least going forward this week. Keep in mind, on Friday, we do have the crop production. We also have the USDA supply and demand reports, which will be released out. Last month, this was a major report. It moved the market significantly when the USDA announced 168.8 bushel yield forecast for corn and 46.9 bushel yield forecast there for soybeans. We'll have to see whether or not they revise that lower. Currently, Informa, Pro Farmer, FC Stone, and Planalytics all have their estimates somewhere below the USDA, except for Informa, actually. Informa is slightly above the USDA estimates. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not we see a revision lower here in the yield forecast. But what we saw in July what we saw in August was a very bearish factor, and it doesn't look as though there's going to be any major reason to move that significantly lower. But we'll have to see. USDA oftentimes provides some very big surprises. We'll be paying attention to that on Friday. We will be covering that in the GrainTV on Friday's weekly wrap-up. If you have any questions about what we talked about today, please give the office a call. Our number is 877-472-4607, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you here on Thursday.